Hello guys, and welcome to the second episode of Python CodeBytes. So in last episode we had a quick look at our first program. We discussed this, the shell. Unfortunately I hadn't realised, but my screen recorder had actually cut off the top of the window, but here you can see it says Python 2.7.12 shell. And then what we did was we created a new file. I actually had already created one, but we're going to create a new file today so you can see that process. So on Windows, you're going to want to hit the Control-N key, or on Mac, I'm going to hit Command+N, and that's just going to create a new window for me, which I'm going to drag over here. I'm then going to hit either, I can press File and go to Save, but here you can see Command and S is the same thing, so Command and S, and I'm going to save this into our teaching folder, in tutorials, in Python tutorials, in our CodeBytes folder, and we're just going to save it as variables.py. Okay, so I now have this variables.py, and you'll notice when I click F5, remember F5 is run, you can see here that's where this file is saved. So it's saved in my user space in the Billington, in my documents folder, in my teaching folder, and you saw that process as we went through there into my CodeBytes folder and saved it as variables.py. And I just don't think we got that quite clearly last week because we couldn't see the name of it. But basically, any code I write in here, so let's create a print function. I'm going to pass the value of hello world into it just like we did last week. And when I run that, it's just going to run the code that's here. So now we know how to run code, and we're going to want to start doing things a bit more complex. So let's say last week I kept typing in over and over and over print hello world into this window, and we sped up this process by having it in here and just having to press F5 whenever I wanted to run it. What we're going to do this week is I want to print hello world a number of times in this program. Okay, so I'm going to write it a load of times, but if you notice, every single time I write hello world, it's taken me quite a long time. I'm going to do the same thing over and over and over. And now my code's not particularly great because I've got the same thing over and over written in my code. And the idea of code is it's supposed to automate processes for us. It's supposed to make things simpler. So what I'm going to do this week is we're going to talk about variables. Now what a variable is it's something that's used to store information in code for a later stage. We can reuse it over and over again, and it also stores information. Now a variable in Python is really simple. We just give it a name. So in this case, I'm just going to give my variable a name of text. We can give a variable a name of X. I could give a name of Michelle. I could give it supercalifragilisticexpialidocious if I wanted. That's perfectly fine. But you're going to see why this would be problematic in just a minute. One thing I can't do is I can't call my variable print, because print is already taken by Python. That's a keyword that Python uses, so I can't call it print. I couldn't call it input, because that's another thing. You've noticed how it's given it a colour different to black. That means I know I can't use this. So I'm going to create a variable called text, and I'm going to set its value equal to hello world. Okay? And now what we're going to do is everywhere I have hello world, I'm going to replace it with text. Okay? And now when I run this, you're going to notice it's going to print hello world 4 times. But I've only written hello world once. I've been able to reuse this value of hello world that I set to text. So text is now references hello world. Let's look why this is useful. Okay, so before I was printing hello world 4 times, and that's the exact same thing. But this time, what happens if I say hello world, my name is Billy? Okay, I run that. Well, the first line has changed to hello world, my name is Billy, but all the other 4 are still the same. But if we go back to this example where we have text every single time, when I run this, it's going to print hello world 4 times because that's what text is equal to. But what happens if I say now, my name is Billy? Inside of here, Well, it's changed all of the versions of that. So rather than me having to go into each of the individual print functions and add my name is Billy, I've added it once, but it's changed all of these lines of code to mean something different. So it's really useful for storing information and being able to use it again, but it's also really useful if we've got a piece of information we're going to use again and again, to just store that, and then we have to change that information once if we need to change it, instead of having to change it possibly hundreds of times throughout the program. Now, why would if I'd called this value text supercalifragilistic blah 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 blah, if I'd called it that, it's very difficult for me to then rewrite that over. So here I've done it, and I've done it right. Or I haven't done it right, because I'm saying here's a call to text which doesn't exist. Sorry, we'll talk about that next week. But here, I've written this out, and when I run it, I've got hello world, but it would be very, very easy to misspell this. So if I put a J here instead of a K, then we're going to get an error similar to our previous one, because we don't have something called supercalifragilistic. We've only got supercalifragilistic. So we want to give these names that are descriptive, so I can understand what they are, but not so complicated that I'm never going to be able to write it again. So thank you very much for joining today, guys. I hope that you've learned something about variables, and please join me again next week